whether it's conversation, whether it's how to put on a certain language or charm or humor, or whatever it might be, to kind of protect when you might be feeling uneasy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soulfully Speaking. I'm your host, teacher, and guide, Brian Bachand. And today's conversation is one that is a beautiful one that I'm sure it's either something that you've done in your life at one moment, or maybe it's something that is kind of a way of life. I call it the chameleon syndrome. So let me just kind of tap into how this title came up. Do you have chameleon syndrome? And just to qualify, there is no chameleon syndrome that is diagnosed. This is a title that I came up with, just to clarify for everyone. The reason I call it that is because several years ago, I was working with a therapist, and I remember one of our very early sessions, I was sitting there on the couch and I was kind of sharing and going through whatever we were speaking about that day. And the therapist always will say is a kind of a truth teller that reflects back to us often what we need to hear. And she looked at me and she said, Brian, you are a very gifted chameleon. And I remember when I heard it, it was almost like someone threw water on me. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you're very gifted. She said, and it served you very well in life, personally and professionally. You're able to work with so many different groups and organizations. You're able to work with people at different social economic levels with ease. You're able to just change in who you are in those moments. But it's also become a way of protecting yourself, knowing how to change. And I always remember that moment that it was, yes, that resonates. Being a chameleon can serve us well, but being a chameleon as a human going through life is not going to serve our spirit and our soul in being authentic. Because in so many ways, we are called to stand in our truth. We are called to be authentic. And that's a buzzword that you hear so often right now. What's your authentic self? Well, it is the essence of your being. That essence of knowing your gifts, of knowing who you are as a person. And so often we have been conditioned to hide that, to play that small, to play that down, whether that came through family circumstances. Maybe you were told not to speak at certain times, you weren't going to be good at certain times, or we're seeking approval. Being a chameleon is oftentimes it comes out of a lived experience of when we were growing up to protect, fit in, not be made fun of, but it doesn't resonate in truly living from an authentic, soulful place in our professional life, how we present ourselves in our work, and also personally in our relationships. Being a chameleon holds us back. It doesn't allow us to connect at the deepest, fullest level of who we are, and having that clarity to live with a sense of peace, with a sense of openness, with a sense of trust. So we're going to talk about the chameleon syndrome today. I certainly am someone that had for many years developed the chameleon syndrome, probably at the highest level, but it's something that when at that moment and started to look at that, when I became a chameleon, were times that you were feeling uncertain. And that's the first point I want to speak about today for you as you're listening. Where are you going into the chameleon moment? What are the circumstances that make you change? I'm sure if you think about it, there are certain situations. Maybe you're driving, you're in the car driving to a particular dinner party, and you're like kind of excited about going, but maybe dreading it at the same time. Because when you're there, you feel different. There's something about the energy of the host that maybe you kind of change your point of view or how you address conversations so you can feel more at ease. Maybe there's a situation at work that you're going into a particular meeting and you notice that there's one person when they start to speak that maybe you find them intimidated. As soon as you feel their presence, you start to feel intimidated. You feel intimidated either it's by their presence or how they articulate something, or maybe they're just very witty and everyone likes them, and so you start to change. change. You start to change your color like a chameleon to blend in, or you change and you take on a different persona almost in that moment to kind of protect yourself, to overcome that insecurity. It's really important, and it's not a sense of judgment, but it's important to be aware of, when do we get into those chameleon moments that our energy changes? When do we start to try and one-up another person? If they say they went on vacation and they share about something, then you talk about, I just came back from vacation, and you start talking. Maybe there's a sense of, wow, I don't know how to respond to this person. So you start to change in that demeanor. Whatever it is, pay attention to when you feel that change in your body. Our bodies are the greatest indicators of what's happening. The mind is powerful, but the body is more powerful in giving you information. If you start to feel tightness in your stomach or your chest, or you start to feel your throat get very dry when the person's speaking, if you start to notice in your body, okay, there's something happening around me, as a chameleon, you maybe start to change. Recognize it. Is it their presence? Is there something about the way they say things? Is there just something about who they are? Because it's giving you an indication not to judge that you're doing something wrong or something's the matter with you. It's giving you a beautiful gift to recognize that there's an area there that either needs to be looked at, to be attended to be healed, to be spoken about in a therapeutic relationship or in a coaching relationship or with a good friend. Let that come out more. Because if we keep going chameleon, it's going to hold us back. And our spirit wants to align with who we are, to be fully at ease. And so those moments are great indicators that, oh, okay, I'm feeling this way. This person really intimidates me. Well, pay attention to that, because it's giving you some great intel. Number 2, how to stop apologizing when you're feeling exposed or unsure. That's something that you might do, or maybe it's something you notice others do. Sometimes when you're feeling very insecure, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling exposed like a chameleon, and when you start apologizing, you're not feeling clear. So for example, it can be that maybe you're having a conversation and all of a sudden you're feeling the other people might be smarter than you on the topic. So you start saying things like, I'm really sorry, I don't know enough about this and I should know more. We start apologizing and belittling who we are in that moment. Apologizing for something you don't need to apologize for is a sense of not believing in who you are. When we apologize for the sake of apologizing without really any indication that you've done something wrong or you need to take ownership of something that has gone in a different direction, is a sense of not believing in who you are and why you're there. If apologizing on a regular basis is something that you find that you do, you hear yourself in a conversation, you hear it maybe in a meeting that you work with certain people, is a sense of not having the confidence that when you're speaking that you are there for a reason and you can speak from a place of what you do know. Maybe you're not the expert on certain topic. I'm not an expert on this topic, but what I do know is the following. Or you can say, I may not be well versed in this topic as much as you are, and I'm learning so much listening to you, but what I do believe is the following. Right away, that changes the whole conversation and removes that sense of apologizing for something that you don't need to apologize for, because no one expects you to know everything. And being truly authentic in our spirit is speaking from who we are and where we are and what experience you bring. Finally, the third point I want you to have is the reason why do you go chameleon is because clarity is missing. The reason you go into the chameleon syndrome, as I call it, is because clarity is often missing. When we don't know something, we like to hide. Those little kids, sometimes if they get caught doing something, it's always interesting, they put their hands over their face and they open their eyes, their hands are over their face. They can't say anything, so no one can see them. But we all know that it's not true. Everyone can still see them. They're just blocking their own vision. The same is true as a chameleon, that sometimes we do that and we think, oh, if I just become quiet, I change, I do this and that, then I'm all set. Well, no. it's oftentimes because you don't have the clarity on what it is that you either want to take action on, something you need to know. When we have clarity, we have a connection to our heart. When we have a connection to our heart, we have a connection to our voice. We're able to speak and own what it is we want to do and how we want to be and what action we take. Clarity is what helps us from living in a constant world of being a chameleon to living in a connected sense. Clarity connects us to the heart. And that's such an important piece of not living in the chameleon syndrome. And until we connect again, I wish you a beautiful day. Stay in confidence, be who you are, be that light, continue to shine. I can't wait to be with you again soon.